This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip, the convenient mail-order electric toothbrush with brush head refills every 3 months. And if you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you can get $10 off your first brush head refill. That's tryquip.com/thumbs.
It's well enunciated.
Thanks, Jake.
Uh-huh.
I kind of backed into it because I was rushing it, and then I realized, and I sort of stumbled over it, and it turned into a very intently enunciated ad read. Yeah.
Vernacular disease.
Vernacular disease.
Yeah, I have no idea why I wrote that down. I mean, I do, because I think that
Wait,
we
you
suffer
do?
from it.
Oh, I see.
I think there was an email about, like, phrase language getting stuck or something like that.
And you realize that that is an example of it and a description of the phenomenon.
Yes. I don't know. I just, all, like, random thoughts for things to bring up on an episode, I just keep in DMs to myself, but it ends up being like a Twitter drafts folder where you sort of scroll through and think, I know what this was intended to be, or I have no idea what it was intended to be.
It's October 26th, 2017.
And this is Important If True.
For Idle Thumbs, I am Chris Remo.
I'm Mick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin. I still have that theme song stuck in my head. It's just sort of trailing off right now, I bet.
What theme song?
Our theme song.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's echoing around you right now.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
sort of fading. It's reaching a crescendo-ish.
Yeah. I hear theme songs around me. Do you remember when Twitter was new and like the big thing about Twitter when it was new was that like Shaquille O'Neal was on Twitter?
Oh, yeah.
That's still probably the best thing about Twitter.
Yeah,
That's actually increasingly, that's approaching only good thing about
the sort
Twitter.
of the story that sold Twitter for a while was like we were in a diner, like just me and my 3 friends.
yeah.
And then I saw, and then we were talking about how cool Twitter was. Then I saw a tweet from Shaquille O'Neal that said, "I hear Twitterers around me," and then there was like a
Is
picture.
that how you thought of it?
Yeah. And then there was like a
Weird.
picture of Shaq hanging
Yeah,
out
I
with some
remember
guys at a
that.
diner. And it was like, wow, on Twitter you can meet Shaq.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twitter's bad now, but like if that, like any good thing, like if that just compounds, if that just compounds geometrically, basically, it will become terrible. Apparently,
Yeah.
just I'm around everyone all the time.
If it were just Shaq, I mean, I guess that would be actually.
That
if the
would
promise
be-
of Twitter is just
Yeah.
that Shaq is always kind of a few tables away from you.
Yeah.
Just Shaq's always. She's
just always kinda there.
A little bit right around the corner. God, that really does. I mean, that is truly why Shaq and not Sinbad was the real genie. Shaq, in fact, was. I don't even remember what the real one was. Shazam or Kazam, which
Yeah.
was the real
I
movie that
can't
was
remember.
a real
It's Kazam,
one.
yeah.
Kazam, yeah. That was just. I mean, that was
Yeah.
It was an ad for Twitter.
priming. Yeah, that was priming Shaq's role as internet genie. Always a few.
You can insert
He was
it.
the mascot, of course, for the dial-up pre-internet service, Genie.
Wow.
Holy shit.
God, internet dial-up services.
It's pre-internet dial-up service, like exclusive network, like CompuServe, Genie, Prodigy, like sort of
Prodigy.
the ones before AOL became dominant,
Right.
and then eventually added the internet,
Yeah.
and then they all became the internet. And they all only one of them had Shaq though, Genie.
Man, if only Shaq had.
Let's keep this going, huh? Yeah,
You guys want an email?
yeah.
Yes.
Thorin writes, "Hey, Thumbs. The reader question last week about unbreakable memories of parsley got me thinking about my own recurring thoughts and connections. Every single morning for the last 20 or so years, I've put in my contact lenses. Every time I do this, I think about the woman at my eye doctor's office who taught me how to put in contacts when I was a teen. She was very mean and got frustrated with me when I couldn't figure out how to do it, eventually kicking us out of the building because it was the end of the day and she had something else to do. I then went home and continued poking myself in the eye trying to figure out how to do it. It turned out the contact lenses they gave me were the wrong size, so they kept falling out of my eyes. Anyway, I think about this dumb thing pretty much every morning. Do you have a stranger you think about often, perhaps tied to a positive or negative, mostly insignificant experience? Or, maybe worse, do you ever think about how you are that stranger to someone else, popping into their brain at certain moments throughout the day?"
Man.
I mean, I think in response to this very question last week, Jake, you are definitely that guy to thousands of people now, thanks to that horrific fucking story
that knife story
you told about. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
You're the stranger in my brain.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, that's I mean more often for me is I'm the stranger in my own brain. This experience is terrible to read because it's actually now this email has become the torturer in my mind where for the last day I keep trying to think of these, but instead just this guy and his contact lens story like looms into my brain and overrides my attempts to remember all the other times that I've been shamed or praised or observed someone do something and then go, oh, that's how that works, and learn from that guy.
I mean, neither of you guys uses contact lenses, right?
No.
Have you ever even? Yeah. I mean, I do and have for a long time, and I can totally just relate to the panic and weird kind of body horror thing you have to get over when you start using contacts, especially if you do when you're a child, because it is weird. You have to like poke something into your eye, and then to get it out you have to like squeeze it off of your eye.
Yeah.
And it's really weird. It's one of those things that is sort of like driving a stick shift using a clutch, where once you know how to do it, it's a pretty rote experience, but when you don't know how to do it, it feels like you will never ever be able to learn, because it's so counterintuitive and you make any tiny mistake and you fuck it up hugely.
Yeah. It grosses me out so much to think about that I've sort of refused to ever even consider getting contact lenses, even though I would be happy if I had them.
Yeah. That actually reminds me,
vile.
Just to go off on a side note here, if you're a contact lens user and you don't like taking out your contact lenses by literally grabbing it off of your eye, which is how it was always demonstrated to me and how I've always seen it done, there is an alternative method that I have learned in the last few years that I swear by now.
Cry really hard every night. Go home and just cry for an hour.
Which is to pinch your sort of eyelids to sort of like tweeze the contact lens out with your eyelids by kind of smushing them into the edges.
God, is that better? Is the image of that any better?
It is better because you don't have to touch your goddamn eyeball. You don't have to touch your eyeball with your fingers. It is definitely better, and it just sort of falls out, and you have to sort of catch it in your palm. I'll try to find a post on the internet, because I learned about this from the internet.
Well,
and I'll try to link it in the
if I ever get
description.
contact lenses, you're now the person for me that'll stick in my mind of you just going, just pinch your eyelid. Like, I'll just think about that memory playing apparently in super slow motion grossly.
The other thing I thought about of when I read this email, when I imagined this kid in this nightmarish scenario of an adult woman like screaming at him because he's an idiot and he can't ply out his contact, which also is the wrong size, so it keeps like popping out and he can't get it to stay in. Was a thing I saw this morning was a news article about a mirror that is designed for people with serious illnesses, and the mirror is designed to lift the spirits of patients in hospitals, or I guess at home, I don't know, by only functioning as a mirror if you smile into it. So it's just like this is the craziest, most fucked up shit. I can't even believe it's real, but it is. It's a mirror that when you look at it, if you have any expression on your face other than a smile, it's just kind of like frosted glass. You're just looking into a blank panel. But then once you smile and it like digitally recognizes,
look at yourself smiling.
And it turns up and you can see yourself smiling. And the inventor said that the purpose of this is because smiling and happiness improves the mood and outlook of people with serious illnesses. But like, I have a feeling that what that is supposed to mean is that actual genuine happiness. Like, I don't know if what we should take from that is like coercive, forcible.
It's like, you're clocking into your job at Sunglasses Hut. Better fucking smile if you're going to start your shift, motherfucker.
That's the scary part.
Rocky Mountain Chocolate Shop. Better fucking smile.
Right. But all I could think about was this guy trying to put in his contacts, and the only mirror available is the smile.
I love putting in my contact that it turns out is the wrong size. It doesn't fit. And the only way I can see it is because I have this fucking happiness mirror.
Thank you for teaching me how to do this. I'm really excited about it. I really can't wait to finally get my
I hate everything right now. I remembered one also. I remembered a thing that comes to mind every time I do it. Every time I tie my shoes, I remember, or like about one out of every like 4 or 5 times that I tie my shoes.
Every time I tie my shoes is also iambic, and so I was hoping
that's definitely that's my modern fiction hardcover book for sure, that has a really nice like sort of brush scripty cover that ends in a little shoelace.
Every time I tie my shoes is
a novel.
It's either a children's book, self-explanatory.
Yeah, Caldecott winner, or modern fiction.
Or it's a modern like literary fiction, or it's a like David Sedaris New Yorker style
I'm imagining that.
short fiction collection of quirky stories.
In either of the latter two, actually maybe in all 3 of those, it's some sort of very elaborate hip brush script that ends in a shoelace.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
In a brush script that then sort of fades into a stock photo of a single shoe.
Ironically, the David Sedaris style New Yorker short fiction collection for adults is actually, the title is typeset actually in a more childlike and scrawled style than the actual version for real children.
There was what I remember is having my like hiking boot laces untied, or like my like the bow I tied on my hiking boots at scout camp came untied, and an adult came by and went, kids for some reason just learned how to tie their shoes backwards. And he explained to me that if you sort of, the little knot, the starter knot, whatever it's called, the base before you tie the bow.
Yeah, when you just make your first little loops
I can't
together,
remember what, God, this should be a good advice, but I actually can't remember which way it actually works. But if you tie that like right over left and then cinch it before you tie the bow, and then you tie the bow also right over left, I believe that's what causes the bow on your shoe to sort of turn 45 degrees and unspool itself all the time. Whereas if you do one way first, then the other way, it like ties a way straighter, like pristine knot on your shoe. And it's when the problem with this guy, I don't remember the actual advice. So the reason that I remember it is because I psych myself out.
All you remember is the passive berating.
Is being berated and going, I know one of these 2 ways works better. And then I sort of eventually figure it out. But it's when I tie a knot and it starts looking flaky, and I'm like, why is my muscle memory wrong? But it's because this guy at scout camp like instilled insecurity about how to tie my shoes. So I get it back. I like psych myself out and then remember him.
Yeah.
And then I have to smile into a mirror.
Can you find? I guarantee someone has written about this on a blog. If you can find the official advice about this,
I'll endorse it at the end of the episode.
No, you won't. I'll just put it in the description list of things discussed. You can't use that as your endorsement. You just already talked about it.
Well.
Okay, we'll see what happens, I guess. Son of a bitch.
Now that we've talked about this stupid mirror that only turns on when you smile, we should read that email about the Hammacher Schlemmer catalog.
That's a good idea. Yes. So, mirror that only works when you smile is an absolute fucking contender for inclusion in the mail order catalogs Hammacher Schlemmer or the Sharper Image or Brookstone. For people who know what those are. So anyway, we can explain, but I will read this email. This is from Nico, a.k.a. Apple Cider Witch, who writes, I've never heard of this company, but my boyfriend swears it is a nationwide thing. It is a gift catalog that spans the true breadth of price ranges. My question for you valiant hosts is, what would you most like to spend your hard-earned dollars on if you had infinite money? Would it be the submersible watercraft? $2 million from the Hammacher Schlemmer catalog. Maybe the fully functional Wild West town in Illinois? $7 million from the Hammacher Schlemmer catalog. Or your own personal robot? This is the Robbie the Robot, I think, from Lost in Space?
Yeah,
this is like a full
and maybe
replica.
Also Forbidden Planet? I can't remember.
Oh, you know what? I think it is Forbidden Planet. Anyway, $32,000.
Well, that's a steal compared to that Old West town and that submersible vehicle or whatever.
This shit is wild from Nico. Yeah, I fucking loved this shit as a child. Yeah. I loved it. My father, for some reason, got all 3 of these goddamn catalogs, which are all, I mean, I don't know if there's some subtle differences between Hammacher Schlemmer, the Sharper Image, and Brookstone.
I think there is. I think that Sharper Image was more like
technological.
It was more technological slash like it had sort of like the American Psycho chic aesthetic to it. I feel like everything in that was like
glass and
geometric glass shaped with a laser, and then also the laser was a clock or like a glass and laser.
Well, they had
conveyor belt for your dog
as well.
Like they did have stores. Actually, all three of these have stores.
Yeah.
Oh, do they?
I think that the common ground is that all of them, like at their base, have like the cat litter box that changes itself, and a conveyor belt to walk your dog, and like a step for your cat to get on your bed. Like Sky Mall shit, like base level Sky Mall is sort of inside.
I think they've all done deals with Sky Mall too.
But then they all sort of evolve into like Brookstone. I always picture as like
a lot more hardwood or like faux finished wood.
Right. It's like, are you
particle board
sort of
with wood finish?
Which 80s are you? And it's sort of like Hammacher Schlemmer is like, you come from old money, but you're a rich idiot kid.
Yeah,
like
it's totally Rich
Big
Rich.
Adventure. Yeah, it's like
it's just if you had $1 million and you were a kid, what would you think?
Yeah,
is cool?
Brookstone is like brass and leather and hardwood. Yeah. Sort of like you're like a Michael Douglas.
Yeah,
and then Sharper Image is definitely you're an American Psycho. Like you're like your house is pristine white. It looks like a Kubrick house, and you murder people. But all of them are where you do your cocaine.
Right.
In the 1980s, for sure.
I mean, they're all definitely for people who fantasize about someone who'd be doing your cocaine in a New York penthouse or something. I mean, they're all like, because the funny thing about all of these catalogs is they all have incredibly expensive shit, but they also have a ton of cheap plastic garbage.
Oh, yeah.
That guaranteed is what anyone actually ever buys from them.
They present the stupidest aspirational lifestyles possible, or the best. I mean, if you live a top tier life, if you just scrape off the cream from the top of all of these catalogs, I guess you actually would just be Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But what a life!
It's either you are murdering somebody in that penthouse, or that penthouse is completely empty of furniture and just has this shit in it, and you're a kid. Like it's either big or you're like,
a murderer.
Or
Big or murderer, our classic recurring segment.
I searched for some more ridiculous shit from these. I'm mainly Hammacher Schlemmer, but also some from Sharper Image and Brookstone. There's some pretty good ones because there's like obviously the ones that were listed by Nico, which are all pretty expensive. I mean, even $32,000 is a lot of money for a mail order catalog, or
like
anything.
Salary.
Yeah, but there's a lot more affordable
I smiled into this mirror every fucking day for a year, and then I spent it all on this robot replica, and I am now rich.
Oh man. So the mirror. So the mirror. The thing about that is that
I smiled into a mirror at my job for 3 months so that I could buy this smiling mirror at home to inspire me to smile into the mirror for another year at my job, where my $32,000 paid for this robot that I now have at my house, so I can feel like I'm a successful American.
The thing that just occurred to me, that based on what you just said about the smiling mirror, is that obviously what it secretly is also is a hidden camera inside of it, because it's a camera obviously that is using facial recognition.
Yes.
So the crazy fucking thing about that, one, like, is it sending your face data to a global database to get better at detecting smiles?
It might just have it.
And two is, can you install apps on it? Like, is it going to do a 1 second every day?
I know, that's what I just
only smile.
That's what I just thought of. Like
when you're smiling.
One of those stupid internet videos with like the poignant piano song, like but you just watch like 15 years of yourself forcing your fucking self to smile.
A more tortured song.
Like,
yeah.
Meanwhile, in the background behind you, all of your weird Hammacher Schlemmer shit is piling up.
It's just like collecting dust, and like your wallpaper just molds away. As your life just becomes a Hammacher Schlemmer hoarder house behind you as you're just smiling every day in that mirror.
Yeah. Oh, gross.
Blade Runner 3.
Well, things that could fill your
house of happiness,
weird hell home of smiles include a thing that, Jake, I think you just alluded to, which is the canine treadmill, which is
I didn't look that up again. I just knew they had one.
Really?
Yeah, of course they have
one. It is literally a treadmill for dogs, and the picture is just a dog on a little plastic treadmill. Inexplicably, I don't understand how or why this is possible. Prices range from $549 to $899.
Sizes? For larger dogs?
Even the smallest one costs like $500, and it's just a little plastic blue treadmill for a dog. Anyway, that is paired with, if you want something useless for your dog, but you only have $29.95 to spend, you can buy the Escape Preventing Dog Harness. This is literally a rod, like basically a stick attached to a collar that you put on your dog so that your dog cannot walk through the bars of a gate.
Oh, God.
It's like what a dog does to itself when it really like finds a stick it likes and tries to walk inside.
Have you seen that GIF of the Terminator, of the scene from Terminator 2?
Oh, where he's trying to go through where
they're trying to go through the bars, trying to go through the bars,
Yeah.
but then it just cuts to a tiny little Pomeranian like whoop, leaping through a fence instead of the T-1000 leaping through it. That's how you stop it.
Yes, exactly. Next up, we have the Killer Whale Submarine. This is a fucking submarine that just looks like an orca. It's the craziest, weirdest shit.
What?
It's just a huge killer whale, but you're inside of it driving around. You can you could become a Bond villain.
God, yeah, make your own Austin Powers or Ace Ventura sequel with this stupid toy.
The price on this thing is $90,000. Not actually as much as I would have expected.
You'll die in there.
It's a lot cheaper than
It's a lot cheaper than a real submersible you could go inside. Do not use.
It's a lot cheaper than an equally complex coffin. Burial at Sea with the killer whale submarine. A lot cheaper than the $350,000 animatronic Triceratops, which I must note has been sold and is no longer available.
They had one.
They had one. A lot of these, there's
I feel
just
like
one
there's
of
only
them.
one of them.
There's only one of that, Old West town for $7 million.
Well, yeah.
This one is one that, this really speaks to why, as a child, I was obsessed with these goddamn catalogs. And when I really, really wanted one is because of shit like this. The Children's Night Vision Camcorder.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's just a Jurassic Park.
Yeah, was $99.95, marked down to $49.95.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that we could... I mean, some of these must just be a thing that someone made that was wild enough that a Hammacher Schlemmer buyer... for their company decided that it was worth putting a listing in and they're going to get a commission. Do you think we could try to sell them or Sharper Image or Brookstone on appearance on podcast?
Oh, shit. Yeah.
$30,000. I mean, $15,000. It'll be a steal compared to some other things.
Sure. Well, actually, you just, $30,000 marked down to $15,000. No, I guess that's bad because then it just looks like you're not.
Yeah, like you're desperate. No. Yeah, you want listed for a good price.
Yeah. You want them to be desperate to be on this podcast.
Yeah. Show this opulent room.
Yeah.
In the spirit of big, you can actually just buy a Zoltar, which is amazing.
Like one of the fortune tellers?
Yeah, one of the fortune telling animatronic guys for $9,000. So
okay.
That's not bad. I actually, what's funny about that is we had family friends when I was a kid in San Francisco who actually still live here, and they had one of those in their weird basement. It's like they live on a hill, and San Francisco is very hilly. Mm-hmm. So some houses have things that are kind of like basements, except that they're also ground level on half of it because
of the hill.
And they theirs was just a weird basement room with all kinds of weird shit in it. And I'm pretty sure they were, especially the dad of that family, I highly suspect is the kind of person who, like my dad, really liked having all this shit, but unlike my dad, had the means to buy the Zoltar, when he felt like it. It's weird.
You can either buy the Zoltar or you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. There are two kinds of people.
Yeah.
Those who can and those.
Looking at all this shit now, if you just search for the word golf on any of these websites, you will find a panoply of results.
Yeah.
The overlap between paunchy white golf guy and subscriber to Hammacher Schlemmer catalog, I believe to based on nothing but
that Venn diagram is a circle.
It's a high,
or at least
it's a bulgy
people
circle.
who have received one of these three catalogs in their life circle.
Yeah.
There are so many golf carts.
There are, yes.
The Gotham golf
I
cart
saw that one too.
is amazing.
Batmobile golf cart?
It looks like the Christopher Nolan Batmobile.
Can you fucking imagine driving that thing around? That was what put me on a sort of realization about
golf guys?
About what these are for. My dad wasn't and isn't really a golf guy, but he definitely slots into, I think, the core market for these things, which is you self-conceptualize as like a really successful, ambitious person, and like you could own any of these things if just the right things got to happen in your life. But then you're buying the stainless steel self-standing staircase jacuzzi that goes into your house from Hammacher Schlemmer. Another thing that I found in there. This was, I think, crystallized by the inflatable water park, $7,999.99, which is a massive like floating ziggurat, basically like a huge inflatable slide. That,
what do you build? You put it in your lake?
It's like too big to fit in a backyard pool. It's huge. You have to basically have access to a like private water feature in order to use this thing. And the image is really notable because it's basically it's like a big pyramid, like I say, with a slide coming off of it and stairs on the side. And it's just a big pyramid that floats around in the water, and you slide down the slide. And in the picture, at the top of this, there's like an old, pale white guy just up there sort of surveying. He's got his arms like up on the thing, and he's kind of looking around. Yeah, he's basically captaining this thing. And then there's like...
a child handing him $10 to use the slide.
No, definitely not that. It is, I mean, that's another version of this, but that's not the aspiration. The aspiration is what is in the photo, which is 3 young, attractive women in bikinis, like with their arms up in the air, they're sliding down the slide, and then 3 like young, ripped, tan dudes in swim trunks, like climbing up the other side, and then this fucking like shitty Hefner on top surveying his domain. And that is the fantasy that these slides show you, is being this sort of like benefactor, this sort of patron.
I like you said this is the fantasy that these slides show you, as if that's ban these slides. I'm sure you meant these catalogs, but I like that it was now a very pointed campaign against inflatable lake slides and the aspirational traps that they create for the America's
aging,
economically depressed.
But the reality is, this is your fantasy, but the reality is you turn the page and you dejectedly order the golf club drink dispenser so that you can pathetically impress your golf buddies by sneaking wine onto the golf course. That's the true path of the Hammacher Schlemmer, Brookstone, Sharper Image industrial complex.
Hammacher Schlemmer proudly blasts on the top of all of their catalogs on their website that they've been around for 169 years.
Yeah, I read the history of the Hammacher Schlemmer Corporation.
Okay, because I wondered, like, did they start off as sort of just like an average or maybe legitimately classy sort of department store catalog? Because you think of like the Sears Roebuck catalog of like that's just like America's general mail order catalog.
Now it's just a store.
And then it was like, did they start off at the high end or the low end? I think that they've always been novelty garbage vendors, because I looked at a bunch of, at least in the 20th century.
Okay.
Because maybe their first 50 years, but I looked up some Hammacher Schlemmer pages. Like I found one from the mid-50s.
Oh, shit.
And you can, smart for home or office, matching silver desk dispensers. You'll like a pair for yourself, and what wonderful gifts. Both stamp box and Scotch tape dispenser have gleaming, non-tarnished silver finish. They're classic little silver cylinders you can put on your desk to just pull stamps and tape, which have
my God, yeah.
And also a telephone stand. Why clutter up a desk table with this when you can have this smart stand that'll hold a phone at elbow height? So, the silver stamp dispensers are $5 each, but that's $5 in mid-50s, which means that little silver stamp dispenser, $50 in 2017 money.
Holy shit.
I found one from the 1920s that sells giant matches.
They have the like aspirational executive suite phone stand. But they also still have this fucking
in the 1920s, the page, the ad, this is like sort of fire starting things, and there's imported lighter from France comes this unique lighter for table or desk, and it's a very nice looking lighter, and then next to it is the thing you actually buy, giant matches. When you see these 12-inch matches in a giant size box mounted on a giant size enamel tray, you'll surely want them for your hearth. As shown in leather case, $9. Without leather case, $8.50. Matches only without stand, $3.50. That's from the it's cited as from 1920s when this one, and the aesthetic looks at that. Also, 1920s. If you take That I think it's the $850 adjusted for inflation, $125 for giant matches with enamel case and
that
leather
totally
wrap.
Tracks. That completely tracks.
So they're coming up on the 100th anniversary of giant matches for $125. So let's just
man. So Jake, you'll be interested to know that the actual history.
That the history is it the actual history or the one they profess for themselves on their website?
No, well, this is from Wikipedia. It seems pretty
a trusted source.
I mean, well, it seems
it's
pretty,
more so than the history they would tell themselves, because I tried to read their own and it was just like they're very good at everything.
I'm not surprised that their history is like that their official history is less revealing, because the true history, there's nothing scandalous about it, but I do think it actually, if you think about it, it sort of does speak to something true about Hammacher Schlemmer. So Hammacher Schlemmer was founded in 1848 as a hardware store in New York City. One of the thing about Hammacher Schlemmer, if you go all the way back through its history, it is essentially a series of owners, all of whom were like clearly obsessed with changing the name of the company to what their name was. So it was originally Tollner Stern. Anyway, this guy Hammacher buys out Stern. Then they're Tollner and Hammacher.
Okay.
There are then Hammacher and Tollner. This guy Schlemmer then in the 1860s buys out Tollner's stake. This other guy Tox comes in. Too many people. Now it's just Hammacher and Company, even though Schlemmer is involved.
Yeah, I found a Hammacher and Company catalog, and that was still early enough that it was a lot of like drill bits and gears and stuff.
Yeah.
Not a lot of giant match.
Yeah, definitely
and
still
phone
a hardware
cases.
store. Yeah. Eventually, Tax resigns. Schlemmer, who has been working there since he was like a teenager, been working there since he was 12, became an owner.
Smiling every morning.
Yeah, exactly. And it became Hammacher Schlemmer. And I feel like the evolution of the various names of Hammacher Schlemmer really speaks to a very particular like business guy, aspirational kind of like, my name is going to be
one
on
day
the
you could have your name on the store.
Yeah, exactly. There's something about that, like the shifting sands of the Hammacher Schlemmer naming scheme that I think does speak across the centuries to the target audience of Hammacher Schlemmer.
They should just sell that. Rename our cover.
Hammacher Schlemmer.
Hammacher Schlemmer. One time only.
$20 million.
Yeah.
Be the new Schlemmer.
Yeah.
God, that would actually happen if they were like in dire straits.
Yeah.
Like, you know, are you guys aware? You guys know the J. Peterman catalog, which is basically the Hammacher Schlemmer of clothes. J. Peterman is the mail order catalog that markets clothing and other sort of related accessory items by pitching them, and by extension you, the patron of J. Peterman, as a seasoned kind of adventurer and world traveler who might, you know, within the course of a fortnight find yourself in Rome and then Morocco.
In some like a bazaar or something, and like run across this particular like antiquity or
and the character J. Peterman is sort of like, who, you know, is portrayed, the founder of the company is sort of portrayed as the ultimate guy, this sort of, I always, you know, who was then immortalized fictionally on Seinfeld as this sort of silver fox kind of character who speaks in the sort of aphoristic mode represented in his character descriptions. And the reason that occurred to me just now when we thought of the like Be the New Schlemmer campaign is because in the late 90s, the J. Peterman catalog, the actual real catalog, was on the verge of, I think it actually did declare bankruptcy.
I think so.
And but the guy who plays the fictional J. Peterman on Seinfeld invested in J. Peterman, and now owns J. Peterman along with the real J. Peterman.
Oh, that's incredible! And why didn't I know that? And that's amazing.
Oh man, it's very
good. So
good.
the fictional J. Peterman busted out of like the universe of Seinfeld into the real world of the J. Peterman catalog. And the J.
That's like if one of the 15 Colonel Sanders TV actors who have been like who have played Colonel Sanders since the real Colonel Sanders died.
Became the CEO.
Then they're like, you know, I've legally changed my name to Colonel Sanders, and I own a controlling stake in Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yes, exactly.
But I'm like the shitty like new cool Colonel Sanders.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Ugh. I moved last year, and I no longer get the J. Peterman catalog. I need to.
But some other lucky San Franciscan gets it.
Yeah. It is really worth subscribing to the J. Peterman catalog because the voice. I mean, they clearly hire their copy editors and then aggressively police the house style of kind of wistful jet-setting adventure, charmed sort of jet-setting adventure. And it is really worth subscribing to the free J. Peterman catalog, which I think is seasonal. I think it comes out every 3 months because it is a consistently entertaining read.
It's very good.
So there's a world for sure when Hammacher Schlemmer has the buy into Hammacher Schlemmer by casting two actors as Hammacher and Schlemmer.
Yeah, in fact, I'm kind of surprised that hasn't been.
They don't need to. That might burst the bubble. It would be more likely that it would be in the style of like the Jameson whiskey ads or something, where they tell the story of Hammacher Schlemmer with historic footage that is bullshit.
Right. that is definitely
to build a sort of most interesting man in the world style legend around these historic characters who had pool slides and smiling mirrors and all this other trash.
Yeah, God, that's such a modern thing.
But then you can step in and be the third one of them for $20 million
or
that would 500,000 Pepsi points.
That would actually be part of the campaign, right? Is they would be like, it would be fictionally that they need a third partner.
You talk about the names that they've gone through and how it's time for a new one.
Exactly,
and it's you.
Yeah. Oh, gross.
And you can get that Harrier jet with 500,000 Pepsi points.
I hate that I can see the entire shape of this ad campaign and all of its
fully
media, sort of transmedia.
Well,
garbage.
because it wouldn't be like the most interesting. It wouldn't be J. Peterman. It wouldn't be like an older person. It would be like a young millennial YouTuber who's just driving around in his fucking golf cart, just flipping shit and
I think it would be two. I think it would be two kind of dignified guys in three-piece suits who need the young guy to come in.
Maybe, yeah.
Like in the you know how like now. What is the...
yours is too honest, Nick. The modern Hammacher and Schlemmer. That's like Hammacher... I mean, that's the version of it where like Hammacher and Schlemmer the fourth are fucking up the company because they're shitty millennials who just have all these toys, and you need to restore dignity as you, a sad, like, sort of aspiring to middle-class Rust Belt dad.
It depends whether what they're trying to do is adjust their target audience to skew younger than it currently does,
or triple down on
lean in
into the dads.
To aspirational dads,
aging dads.
Yeah, I don't know. Huh.
One of two ways. Yeah, it's you either have like Roger Sterling or PewDiePie.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Or they're Hammacher and Schlemmer. That's the other option, which is the Mac and PC, and you just want to kill yourself.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Man. I already want to kill myself.
Yeah.
Give me that fucking mirror.
It's break time.
I need to get pulled back from the brink, you guys.
Smile, Chris. Look happy. Be happy. Be happy.
Let's take a break. This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip. Yeah. Quip makes very compact, convenient electric toothbrushes that you order them on the internet and they come to your house or your apartment or whatever. And then you brush your teeth with them.
Send them wherever.
I mean, you could send them, I guess you could send them to your office, your work.
Yeah.
You could send them to a friend's house. You could surprise a friend with the magic of dental hygiene.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very nice and like simple and straightforward electric toothbrush that just does the thing you need, which is brush your teeth. They're affordably priced, and every 3 months they send a new brush head refill to your house.
Are they affordably priced?
Or your place of work or your friend's house.
Right, yeah. It being an affordably priced toothbrush that then also includes a subscription plan to keep things up, you really could use this as a true passive-aggressive but affordable gift to a friend that has bad oral hygiene. It's like those 80s breath mint ads where like the person starts talking and then their friend like crashes down into the floor and then holds up a thing of breath mints. It's like you need these.
Yeah.
So just, you could do that, but like less.
You don't have to do it.
You can do it. You can just anonymously.
Like as in our modern sort of millennial generation, the internet-based passive-aggressive method is preferred to the method that involves human contact or confrontation.
Ship them a toothbrush and also put them on a subscription plan. Like that part.
Yeah, and don't ever tell them that it was you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like compliment their teeth a lot.
Right. Yeah. Make a point to be like, wow, looks like you
had a really good brushing regimen now.
Yeah. Huh. So that is tryquip.com/thumbs, and you can get $10 off the first brush head refill that is passive-aggressively sent to your friend or frenemy.
Or enemy.
Or enemy, for that matter. Tryquip.com/thumbs.
We aren't that different, you and I. We both have impeccable dental hygiene. Other than that, you're an asshole. Just fuck you.
I mean, we're pretty different.
Yeah.
But
other than that, that one thing.
That one thing, though. All right. Are we back?
Yeah.
All right. I think we're back.
Why not?
We got several. So last week we talked about this incredibly pointless and stupid concept of somehow ending up with a 17.5-hour delayed ghost version of yourself that just acts out your life in parallel, but 17.5 hours
Yeah, they
ago.
have no agency over the world. It's almost like a sort of holographic recording of yourself on a 17.5-hour tape delay that you can observe, and then sort of maybe degraded previous 17.5-hour loops.
Yeah. And we asked for, because it is something that is only viewing what you've already done in the past, it's not incredibly clear how you could profit from this or leverage it to your clear gain. So we asked for people to solve this for us, and we got several responses that span a pretty good array of ways to answer that. So here are a few. Rory writes, "Hi, Thumbs. I have two possible and somewhat convoluted ways to profit from your past ghost.
Good.
1. Fishing contests. If you timed it right and had the right equipment, you could plant a prize-winning specimen you acquired from somewhere at the bottom of a lake in a time-release trap. At the appropriate time, you could follow your ghostly past self to the correct spot and have your net or pole in the right position to optimize your chance of taking home first place. You could probably also do this with a GPS."
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true of probably a lot of these, but we'll just keep going.
Well, no, but I think you have to assume that that's off limits for the contest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just put yourself in
So the
contest where
ghost would help
technology
more
is not
than
allowed.
Yeah.
2. Treasure finding grift. You claim to invent an amazingly...
Wait, isn't this the same thing, but the fish is a treasure now?
You claim to invent an amazingly sensitive dollar bill finding metal detector that can actually detect the metallic ink used in dollar bills. Bury a few $20 bills at the beach and amaze onlookers as you follow your ghost from spot to spot finding dollar bills.
You make this unverifiable claim about science.
Sell the metal detector with a high markup to one of the onlookers and immediately leave town. I think the theme here is that you could be very good at hiding things in large homogeneous landscapes for 17-hour intervals without the aid of a GPS.
Yeah.
This particular aspect of the power would have been much more impressive about 40 years ago.
Yeah, this is
it's true.
The Music Man 2 is this very elaborate high concept experience.
God, I love that the reality of this to you, I mean, to someone else it looks like you're kind of just wandering around.
It's you just going,
but it's you.
And then pointing at the ground and giving yourself a thumbs up.
Follow yourself,
Yep.
like pointing and gesticulating and over here, hey. God damn it.
That's where I put $5. And then you better be able to sell this metal detector fast because we had to take $40 out of the bank to bury it in the beach.
Yeah. All right, so Evan writes, you could beat I really like this one. This is really clever. You could beat the Guinness Book of World Records entry for the deepest recitation of pi. Actually, you couldn't even do that because the current record took 16.5 hours to recite. You could totally cheat at a Pi Day party, though. I'll
But you
consider
could
myself hoisted, Evan. Yeah, I don't understand why you couldn't do it. That's 17 hours is more than 16.5 hours. Just start doing it. Also, guaranteed you could do it fucking faster than the real person who did it because you could be reading it off a computer.
Oh, I don't know.
Pretty fast.
It would be really hard because yourself would be going to 3.14.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, my God.
And you're like,
Here, let's try it right now. Jake, start going. Just say any numbers.
Man, I used to know a lot of pi.
Doesn't matter. Say anything. I just want to see if I can follow you.
3.14159265358997. I get confused.
Yeah,
Jeez.
no, I can't. It's impossible. Shit. Well, god damn it. This one's right out. You'd have to get really okay, you know,
you just have to practice it a lot. You just win this. This would be you'd learn a lesson along the way, which is way too many digits of pi.
Here's a question actually. This is a common issue that comes up in sort of science fiction, time travel and teleportation scenarios. Does your ghost carry...
Sorry, I read those as a comma delineated list in science fiction, time travel, and teleportation, implying that the final two are real.
Yeah, right. But here's the question. Does your ghost because here's how you would do it: cue cards. But does your ghost self include the cue cards? Is that included in the ghost self?
I think we have to take sort of like PG fictional conceit rules, and your clothes come with you and nothing else.
But I was just going to say, because if you don't have your cue cards, maybe you don't have clothes. Maybe it's just a naked ghost of yourself.
Oh, no.
You just have to get really, really comfortable with how you look naked. And that there's a naked past version of you on the beach surrounded by like other people.
I mean, you would have to just get a crazy tattoo that's just pie.
But does that come along? The tattoo
oh my God,
would.
The tattoo, yeah. You could just slowly rotate in place as you spiral, as your spiral pie tattoo. You could perform this as a traveling roadshow. You just have to always be there
both versions.
17 hours in advance. Your rider has to be that you need a day.
Or alternatively, you'd get that tattoo, and then 17 and a half hours later, you go back to the tattoo parlor and watch yourself just act like they're in a light amount of pain, and no marks are being left on their body, and you're like, fuck, the tattoos don't come across. Fuck. Like,
oh no!
Yeah,
because they're ink. They're not.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
they're not,
you just watch yourself get a tattoo and then get up and be like, nailed it, and you're like, no, my ghost doesn't have the tattoo.
You know
and you're up, I'm gonna win this pie recitation world record at any cost.
Then just some super smart 7-year-old still wins.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And
all right,
then some genius idiot does it 18 hours, and you're like, well, fuck, my stupid curse only lasts 17 and a half hours, but I have pie tattooed into myself, which is also on my regular body.
Oh, that's true. Oh, gross.
Yeah, so you're like, I'm going to recite pie from memory, and then they're like, dude, I can see that you have just numbers on all exposed skin. Get out.
Oof.
You're like, no, it's because I was reciting it off of my hologram shadow.
Anton throws a real wrench into the works here. He writes, it's possible that we all have time-delayed echoes, we're just not aware of them, as your scenario makes the classic mistake of time travel and is terribly geocentric. Not only is the Earth spinning, but it's orbiting the Sun, which is in turn progressing around the Milky Way, which is accelerating away from the center of the universe. If we are leaving these echoes, they're following the Earth's unique path through the infinite universe, and given the vast expanse, the chances that they'll ever be encountered by anything able to recognize their significance is low. Our doubles, however infinite they are just repeating our actions into the void.
I've thought about this also when it comes to time travel. Like, I'd always thought it would be really funny to make an edit of Back to the Future where he gets in the car and time travels to the exact location that he's in 1955, and it's just a vacuum of space because of like orbits and universal expansion. Like you're like, okay, I'm in the exact literal sort of like XYZ coordinates of existence. I died.
I think it really depends whether this scenario is a science fiction scenario or a sort of gothic paranormal scenario. Because in the latter, I feel like it's less of a recording and more of a curse where your ghost is doomed to wander the earth.
And it's more like it's just a projection interior to you. Like it's ambiguous as to whether or not it's real or if it's sort of like a supernatural or spiritual creation. But if we are just leaving echoes behind us every 17 and a half hours, they are just like blinking away as we hurtle around.
God, that sucks for ghosts, for real ghosts, if that's how it works. Because if they're doomed to like wander the universe until their unfinished business is completed, and they're like, fucking Christ, I'm never getting back there. Shit.
Right, if gravity doesn't apply to them and they just watch Earth just go boom, and just leave, like, shit.
Yep. Well,
fuck.
Yep.
I mean, that's implying that like ghosts have like a top speed or something. Like they can't just like follow it. They're ghosts. They only move like 3 miles an hour.
Ghosts are really tired all the time because they have to expend all their energy like keeping up with the
smiling.
Yeah, they're not affected by gravity, so they have to just like run at like millions of miles per hour in order to
to keep us.
They're fitted with a head-mounted smile mirrors.
It turns out that Amazon is powered by ghosts. The cloud is actually ghosts.
Oh yeah. Aaron writes, "Hey Thumbs, the 17 and a half ghost phenomenon." I like that. Way to characterize it. It implies a very different phenomenon. The 17 and a half ghost phenomenon could be exploited to make some money, but it might be tough. Using Nick's basic principle of cheating on tests, you could begin by placing small bets that you can perfectly remember random sequences of numbers far beyond even exceptional human capacity. So this is obviously very similar to Evan's email, but Aaron goes in kind of a different direction with it. Your caveats would be that you get to choose the time the recall begins and have access to the numbers and location of the test for a day before the test. During that time, simply wait in the space and read the numbers aloud clearly. When the actual test for the bet begins, simply repeat what your ghost is saying. You could memorize thousands of numbers that way. Make it clear to all involved that paranormal phenomena aid you in this. Gain a degree of notoriety and hopefully money by repeating the bet numerous times in as public a manner possible. Once you've established yourself as having this power, contact the James Randi Educational Foundation, which continues to host Randi's $1 Million Challenge, but only for established psychics. The challenge awards $1 million to any psychic that can pass its test ruling out mundane phenomena. No one has ever won the prize. Having caught the eye of the Foundation, explain very carefully the limits and details of the time ghost. Let them design any test they like around it, then pass it easily, because in this story, it is a real phenomenon. Boom, you have $1 million and fame enough to launch a career doing the talk show circuit. That is until the Air Force spirits you away in the middle of the night to dissect you so they can harness your power for time jets.
That is only 1/7 of an Old West town. It's nothing. It's nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. There are some problems with that. I mean, first of all,
there's a big single overriding problem with it. No. Anyway, what's your concern?
I just, practically speaking, if you're going on a talk show, for instance, you have to, 17 and a half hours before you go on the talk show, you have to break into the studio to do all of this. I think there would be footage of that happening. Also,
true. You are a real person in the first run of your ghost.
Yeah, and I'm sure this foundation would probably say, one of the things that seems to be always the case is that you choose the location of wherever this happens.
Yeah, but that's part of the... No, Nick, you're missing the entire point of this.
What?
You're allowed to say... There's a ghost that follows me around of myself.
I know, but that I feel like is a little disingenuous to the whole premise. Because at that point, it's just, you're not a psychic. You're just this weird ghost guy.
Yeah, true. Good point. You're not a psychic. You just have a ghost of yourself following you around. Never mind.
I feel
bullshit. You just have one of those 17-hour tape delay ghosts.
You would be notable, but you're not a psychic.
Yeah.
Let's be fair.
I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair enough.
I think we should endorse things.
Okay. Let's endorse. Jake, what is your endorsement?
I'm going to endorse some classic content that we ourselves have produced.
All right.
My favorite video game of all time, probably, or one of them, Team Fortress 2, is a great multiplayer game. Turned 10 last week. But the interesting thing about Team Fortress 2 that we discussed on Idle Thumbs, our video game podcast, is the completely bizarre and outrageous economy that existed inside of that game of players of the game selling, buying, and trading items to each other. We had this string of one of the most notable things in Team Fortress 2 is you can buy or find in the game novelty hats to put on your character. And an Idle Thumbs reader who went by the name Captain Invictus sent us these 3 or 4 just gigantic missives chronicling the outrageous stories of people of what he referred to as hat barons, which are people who made basically livelihoods in the virtual hat trade. And it predates Important If True by years and years and years. But if you like this podcast and never heard those stories on Idle Thumbs, you would like them quite a lot. We actually put up a YouTube episode, a YouTube video that's just those emails back to back to back, and it's a really good listen if you like this sort of garbage but want to hear one about a video game.
That's a good point. And it doesn't really, to my memory, it doesn't really require that you know anything about video games or Team Fortress particularly. I mean, I didn't really know anything about that whole ecosystem. It's just a really crazy story about a virtual economy, basically. It's a weird poll. Yeah, I'll link that obviously in the endorsements section.
I remembered it because someone tweeted to us about it very recently, and I went, "Oh, that's one of the best things that there is."
I am going to endorse a kitchen appliance.
Hammacher, Schlemmer, Brookstone, or Sharper Image.
Actually, what's funny is this is probably something that would have been sold in the Sharper Image several years ago before it just became a normal thing. Which is an Instant Pot, which is a pressure cooker, it is basically a kitchen tool that is a big pot inside an enclosure that heats pressure seals the contents and then heats it and creates internal pressure to cook your food much faster than it would otherwise cook. The sort of classic uses of a pressure cooker are to make the kinds of things you'd make in a slow cooker, but in 25% of the time or less. It's an incredibly useful and very versatile tool that you can use to make lots of things. I made just the other day a classic sort of pot roast style beef stew that typically you would have to leave braising for hours and hours and hours and hours, and that it ends up sitting in the Instant Pot for like less than an hour and has that great, like, meat is just falling apart, kind of wonderful, super tender, slow cooked texture. It's an incredibly handy thing. You can just use it as a rice cooker as well. I love that thing. We use it all the time at this point. And the Instant Pot is a version of it that just, you can set a timer. It has a lot of presets. So it takes a lot of the manual monitoring out of a traditional pressure cooker. And there are lots. If you just search the internet for Instant Pot recipes, you can find lots of them because it's just becoming a very widely used tool. Anyway, I will link to the one that I have, and I'll link to a couple of recipes as well, just as some examples. So the Instant Pot automated pressure cooker.
Cool. See if you can find one listed for way too much money at Hammacher Schlemmer, and also link to that one.
Yeah. Nick, what do you have?
This will be short. This is a very sort of like non-specific recommendation, but this is so dumb. I haven't done a puzzle in a long time, and I was cleaning out my house and found
a jigsaw
puzzle. Yeah, and I hadn't I was cleaning out my house, and
could be pretty broad. There could be some kind of malicious genie that traps you in a maze of your own unintentional creation.
Yeah. Instead, I just did a lame jigsaw puzzle. But like jigsaw puzzles are really. It's a very relaxing thing to do while you're like watching a TV show or something with somebody. You can just kind of like chill out. And I forgot how much I enjoyed it, and I hadn't done a jigsaw puzzle in years, years. And I found one, and I was like, why not? And it was really fun.
I was on vacation in Montana like a few months ago, and the house that we were staying in had 2 gigantic jigsaw puzzles.
Wow.
And it was real fun.
Yeah.
So I immediately that endorsement.
I immediately ordered some very specific jigsaw puzzles, and I'm very excited to do them. And it's like, I feel like I'm 70 years old, but I'm really excited about it.
What did you order?
I ordered a jigsaw puzzle that is just like the map of Disneyland, which is like very exciting to me in a really shitty, dorky way. No, it's really awful. It's really terrible, but I'm fucking doing it.
I mean, it's totally terrible, but I totally approve.
They're also they also made this jigsaw puzzle, like my girlfriend Janelle's an animator. They made a puzzle that is just like an animator's desk at Pixar with like concept sketches hung up all over the place, and just like it's like very specific, but also really cool. And I'm like,
so all your jigsaw puzzles are Disney derived.
Well, I just was on that site that sells those ones.
Disney puzzles.
Well, we can link to the ones that Nick Brecken has acquired.
Yep.
Try to beat Nick's solve time.
Right. I'll Twitch stream my puzzle.
You could do a time lapse. People, I fucking guarantee right now for sure there's a YouTube community of time-lapse puzzle
speedrunning.
solvers.
I'm sure that exists.
Yeah. With the actual real-time clock sped up, so you can see, even though it's in time-lapse, you can see how long they're actually taking.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, well, that is our show. Thank you for listening to Important If True. If you like this podcast, please tell a friend or your social media buddies or anyone else you think might also enjoy this. It means a lot to us when you spread the word, and it's really the only way we have to do that. If you have a question, if you need our advice, if there's something that is vexing you in your life or a decision you have to make and you need our consultation, any of those things or anything else you can think of, send that to questions@importantiftrue.com, and we will do our best. We will be back next week with another episode of this show. Until then, for Idle Thumbs, I am Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
Stay spicy.
My mind, somewhere in the back of it, is just screaming at me.